Hey everybody, so in this video I'm going to talk about what to think to yourself before performing piano. And it could be a formal piano performance in a large hall in front of a live audience. It could be an informal performance for family, close friends, relatives, or whoever you want to play for. And it could also, of course, be performance just for yourself. And really, you're deciding to just play this piece of music from beginning to end. Or maybe if you just have a section of the piece, you're still deciding, I'm just going to play this section of the music from beginning to end. I'm not going to go back and practice things. I'm in performance mode. So yeah, what are you thinking to yourself before you begin? And I have some thoughts around those thoughts, or this general idea in general, and also some examples of thoughts that you might think to yourself and the impacts that they might have. And the reason we care about this is that I believe that these thoughts can impact the quality of your performance greatly. And so we should be aware of what we could think, and we should optimize for obviously the most helpful thoughts. So I hope to share with you on this channel strategies, mindsets, methods, etc., often of my own creation, that I hope will help you in your piano playing, hopefully in other areas of your life as well. So again, this whole video is based on the premise that some thoughts that we think to ourselves are self-talk before we begin performing, that this may have an impact on our piano performances. And so I believe this. Hopefully you do too. If not, you can stop watching the video. But if you do, then we can go through some examples. And obviously this is the case in life as well. Like before you do public speaking, before you do a presentation, before you go about your day, yeah, your self-talk probably will have an impact on how the day or the presentation or whatever it is goes. So if you think to yourself before you start performing, like, oh, I don't think I'm ready for this after all. Maybe this was all a huge mistake. Like I'm probably going to play really badly. Yeah, that's probably going to have a negative impact on your performance. If you think to yourself, oh, music is really about sharing the music, it's about delivering the music to the audience, and I remember last time the piece was too fast, so I'm going to make sure that it's steady this time around, and I'm going to remember to do this so that I don't make the same mistake as last time. That could have a positive effect on the performance. Maybe it'll have a neutral effect on the performance. At least it's not negative. And somebody else might think, let's do this, or some other simple phrase, and that could have a positive, neutral, or negative effect. But point is, this self-talk to yourself, just like if it were a physical other person, like a coach saying something to you right before you go out to, play in the big game or play your piano performance, whatever it may be, yes, that may have an impact on your motivation, your focus, etc. So because it has an effect, I think it's a good idea to practice even thinking these thoughts. Really anything at all in life can be practiced. We have piano practice, nitty-gritty sections that you can zero in on, and there's lots of examples of this all over my channel. And there's even, I won't go too far in this direction, but there's even all the thoughts that we think to ourselves all day long. If you think angry thoughts to yourself all day long, you are probably living a lesser quality of life just because you're bothered by your anger all the time. And so, yeah, if you practice thinking happier thoughts all the time, slowly but surely, probably your quality of life will improve. So such it is with thoughts right before your performance as well too. So every day before cold performance, and by cold performance I mean, don't warm up with scales or other things at the piano. You can stretch or do cardio, light cardio, anything that you would do before physical activity if you like, but you're just going to start with performing your piece, the piece you're planning to perform for others or for yourself, in full performance mode. Fake it and go on if you make mistakes, just keep going. Other videos on my channel, if you search for my performance playlist or performance training playlist, you'll find lots of details about that. So anyway, before your cold performance, I think it's a great idea to practice thinking exactly what you would want to think before your real performance situation. So let's say that you want to be able to perform for friends when you go over to their house, or you want to be able to perform for your family when they come and visit during the holidays, or you want to be able to perform on a street piano if you happen to encounter one really out in the wild. Well, let's say that you figure out that if you tell yourself, keep calm, play slow and steady, maybe just those simple phrases, keep calm, play slow and steady, when you think these, it has a positive effect on your performance. You've tested it, you've tested thinking different things before you perform. It turns out that this produces a 50% better performance ratio, or whatever you want to call it. You've determined that it helps you, basically. Well, think this to yourself every single day before your cold performance. So whatever piece you would most want to be able to play at your friend's place, or for your relatives when they come over, or on the street piano when you encounter it in the street, whatever that piece or set of pieces would be, I would start each practice with just performing whatever that piece or set of pieces is, and think to yourself the exact thoughts that you would want to think to yourself in that real performance situation. Like when you go over to the friend's house. I think it was like, keep calm, play slow and steady, or something like that. So that is a part of your practice routine. So every day you get ready, you sit at the piano, you gather yourself, you think, keep calm, play slow and steady, or whatever those exact thoughts are to yourself. Then you perform, and then that becomes a habit in and of itself. It's not just your playing, it's even the literal thoughts that you're thinking to yourself. And so then when you finally do go over to your friend's place, or your relatives come over, or you encounter the street piano, that has become a habit. And even if you're a little bit nervous, even if you're like, oh, I'm not really sure I remember what it is I'm supposed to think, those thoughts, keep calm, keep slow and steady, or some variation of that, they're just going to come up automatically because you've been practicing it day after day. So again, it's not just the muscle memory and everything that can be trained. Even those thoughts to yourself can be practiced as well too. Some examples of thoughts that may be helpful. I think it's a great idea to think about the sound, character, and tempo of the piece that you're going to play. So I won't go into any of these in great detail, but I think it's very important for pianists and high-level musicians to imagine the type of sound they want to achieve. So a simple example would be thinking, I want a sound that is soft, or I want a sound that is delicate or loud, or whatever it may be. As you advance in your piano or musical journey, you may have a very clear mental conception of this particular beautiful type of sound that you want to achieve in your total imagination. And in terms of character, which can be closely related, maybe you want the character of the piece, like a character in a novel or something. Maybe you want them to be very, maybe you want it to be nostalgic or poignant or furious. So whatever that may be, whatever you feel would be the character of the piece, if the piece were like a person, whatever that personality trait or aspect, you can imagine that and have that clear in your imagination or in your mind. And then the tempo, exactly how fast or slow you would want it to be. You want to have a very clear conception of that. Maybe you practice with a metronome, maybe you don't, but it should be something that is appropriate for the sound and the character. So this is just an example of one category of things that you could think about. But before you begin performing your piece each day, if this is really clear in your mind's eye, it will greatly increase the chances that things will come out with the exact sound, character, and tempo that you're looking for. And there may be other aspects that you're looking for also as you're imagining. I have a lot of videos on my channel about mental practice and practice only using the mind without using the fingers or the hands or arms or anything. And so it would be a great chance during your mental practice, if you're practicing away from the instrument, to be imagining these things. So essentially you're doing mental practice and imagining that sound, character, tempo, any other elements that you would like right before you begin the piece. If your mental practice is really clear, you won't have to really go through these categorically one by one. It'll just be that rich in your imagination. You'll hold it clearly in your mind, and then you'll be able to start and make that vision into reality in that moment. And it could be specific directions to yourself that you tell yourself right before you start. So for instance, let's say that you're always playing too fast, or you've noticed this pattern in yourself. So if you tell yourself, don't rush, or you tell yourself, play really slow and heavy, or play really slow and steady right before you begin, just like if the coach is whispering in your ear right before you start, that could of course increase the chances that you won't rush. So if you think this to yourself and then you still rush, maybe you need to give yourself a more extreme direction, such as play extremely slowly, play super, I've had to tell this to students in the past, play extremely slowly, or play like you're like a 400-pound man or something like that, assuming that you're not. But just, yeah, play very weightily, play very, very, very slowly, play like a turtle, like, whatever it is that works. And maybe that instruction is extreme enough that it will result in the normal desired tempo. Especially when adrenaline is going, it's probably even more likely that you'll rush unless you think something extreme like that. So again, the thoughts you think to yourself, they could be related to a specific mistake that's happened in the past, or a specific thing that you want to correct or counteract. And you could also be thinking philosophical thoughts to yourself that you think are helpful. So some examples would be things like, oh, I'm really doing this for the sake of the music, because Beethoven is obviously a master composer, and I really want to share his work with the audience. I want to be of service to Beethoven. I want to be of service to the audience. It could be the very first time that the audience is ever hearing this piece of music, and then I am privileged, so honored and privileged to bring it to them. Or, I'm at the service of the music itself. Like, I love music, or I love the piano, and I want to create this for myself as if it's the first time that I've ever played this piece. Like how a Broadway actor, even though they do the same show like every single night for years and years and years, they want to create that magical experience for the audience because it's this really, really special occasion for them that maybe comes around only once in a lifetime or once in a very long while. So any of these, they may be a truth that rings true for you or not. It could be that you really are doing it for the sake of the music. It could be that you really are doing it for the sake of the audience. And when you hear those, you might think like, oh, that doesn't really ring true for me. Maybe you're doing it for yourself. That's not, like, selfish and selfless don't need to be mutually exclusive. I think that if you take care of yourself and you're bettering yourself, you'll be able to better help other people as well too. So maybe you're doing it for your own self-growth or self-improvement. Oh, this is just a part of my musical journey or my personal journey or my artistic journey. And so either way, this is a win-win situation, because if this goes well, then I'll gain confidence, I'll really enjoy it. If this goes poorly, it'll be such a great learning experience. And I know I will have grown as a performer, as a musician, as a pianist, as a person through this experience. So there really is no way to lose unless I'm in the wrong mindset. So these are things that if you practice thinking these thoughts, let's say you practice thinking them in private, you practice thinking them before performances for friends, family, and so on, if you find it does have a positive effect, you're able to enjoy the performance more, you're able to have more fun, you're able to get in the state of like a flow state more often, the performance goes better on average, you miss less notes, it could be as logical and exact or as emotional or abstract as you like, however it is that you're tracking the results. If you find it's helpful, then you can begin to think whatever philosophical thoughts are ringing most true for you, and that will result in a more positive performance. And I just want to share with you guys something personal, like in terms of one of the thoughts I think to myself. So I do like to remove pressure from myself because I still get nervous before each performance. I believe my teacher actually said the same thing, even though he is a great, great artist. And I think it's the same as Olympic athletes or professional athletes before a big game. There's always going to be something going on that is different from when you're just on your own. I mean, that's part of what makes the game or the performance or the event or whatever it is so exciting, right? So there's that X factor that, you never know what's going to happen, live element to it. So I'm always wanting to try to remove some of this pressure from myself. And often what I'll think is something like, I don't want to be pessimistic. I want to stress that. I'm not trying to say something bad will definitely happen, but I'll think to myself something like, okay, I'm going to perform and I could mess up. It could be small mistakes. It could be big mistakes. I could be completely blindsided and completely forget everything, have a total meltdown and, mess everything up. I forget the whole rest of the pieces, and that's okay. And life would still go on. And the only thing that would be damaged really is my ego, maybe my reputation to some extent as well too. But basically life would go on, right? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a surgeon. Nobody dies if I mess up this performance. So, so it's fine. Like, I'll get over myself, life will go on, and it is okay even if the worst were to happen. So I'm giving myself permission to fail, and I don't end up failing because partially I think I've removed a lot of the pressure from myself. So that's an answer that rings true for me. It again does not have to ring true for you. My suspicion is that a lot of the time, perhaps Olympic athletes are thinking something like, second place is last place, or like, I must win at all costs. And if that rings true for you, then that's awesome. And you should think that before your performances. So some people, maybe they thrive on putting even more pressure on themselves. Like, it's either perfect or wrong, and there's no in between. And I feel like that would generate too much pressure for me. So if I think to myself something like, I've got to play every single note correctly, and if I don't, then it's over, that usually results in the performance getting worse and me missing more notes rather than me allowing myself some leeway. So when I relieve some of the pressure, I'm calmer, I'm able to enjoy the music more, and then the whole performance goes better anyway. So anyway, so I hope that these examples were useful. It's not scientific or exact at all. I hope explain the philosophy around it and explaining some very different types of thoughts that you could think to yourself before the performance, that inspires you to think of which thoughts would be most helpful to you. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, let people know about the channel, and looking forward to the next one.